This is Papa City. Um, I failed with the Life is Strange. It didn't work well somehow. So I came with a story game. And it seems really healing, so let's try with this. Yeah, I would just do with window, go to full screen, animation on, scene text, stop all the after choices, text speed, auto. Right. I'll just go with the window mode because just in case. Just in case. New file. Alright, welcome to our life, beginnings and always. Oops. I want the voice to be loud enough. Okay, there are various ways you can customize and interact with the game. This tutorial is an overview of how certain features work. You can read the full tutorial from the main menu to learn about everything in detail. To start out, the game is divided into 3 time periods called steps. Step 1, childhood. Step 2, adulthood. Step 3, teenaged. Our life is further divided into sets of vignettes that take place during specific periods of time. Those are called moments. Moments can be played in any order or skipped entirely. You can move on to the next step whenever you want to by selecting that summer is ending. Steps 1 to 3 include 5 moments each, and even more can be unlocked by so I have to buy DLCs. Some are out now and other DLCs will release later on. A lot happens over the years that go by, especially in regard to the character you play as. You determine nearly everything about the main character. Name, appearance, personality, pronouns, interests, skills, their relationship with major characters, and so on. You can decide to change the details as time goes on, with a few exceptions. Your last name, skin tone, and eye color can be altered once set. Okay. Much of the MC's basic traits are determined in a character creation screen. As the main character grows up, more options become available on the screen. As mentioned, one of the decisions you'll get to make for your character is selecting a name. You can type in any name you like, or you can pick a preset name. Preset options are called voiced names because the name will be voiced aloud by the romantic lead. You'll get to hear him say your name as you play through the story. Okay. Blah blah blah. Okay, this is way too long, I'll just skip on. Okay. Where's this interest level? I haven't actually read the reviews or stuff, I just picked it. Well, I saw this Steam review, like a couple. It was recommending, so. Oh! My character. Oh, wait, I didn't even. Okay. Pointed, oval, peach. Oh, excuse me. Peach. Peachy. I don't really like the hairstyles here. Let's do this. Um, curled. Aw, come on, what? What the? Excuse me? Okay, I'm done with the tutorial time. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Why is this happening? Should I just do with the pad? Okay, I think there's a problem with my Apple mouse. I will press on the pad to make sure it doesn't. Wait, I'll do this. Eye color is gonna be purple. What I chose was, oh wow, two-tone. Oh, this is pretty. Oh, okay. Let's do none. Wow. Maybe this and let's say um May. She change name. Page done. 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 Okay. Summer and sunset bird. Wait, but was I supposed to see the other pages too?
알겠습니다. 자, 갑니다.
No. iPad was answering. I didn't say anything to you, iPad. Okay. Summer and sunset bird was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved, or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Okay, I can choose. You didn't really get why they always had to say hi. They saw you every day, but you knocked back at them anyway. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people, since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones. You were too anxious to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all knew you well enough to expect that. Well, I ended up saying hi to a lot of people. Yeah, you enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today, there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person, or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So, for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your moms had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. Okay, here's a selection. You hadn't exactly been listening at the time. You think it could be okay to talk to new people. They mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. Remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite then. Well, I will go with the second one. You weren't sure about this man yet. Still, you felt a bit scared. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I won't touch the mouse. Apple mouse. I'll go with the pad, okay. Okay, whew. Alright. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door. But you were pretty interested, you wanted to know more about what was going on. Whether he was nice or not, you didn't want to be bothered. Let's go a second. You slowed down, your eyes remaining fixed on the man. There was a split second where your eyes met and you knew he was aware he wasn't alone on the street anymore. Hey. Oh, it was me? Hey. You raised your eyebrows at the shout. Did he want something? Is that why he was here? The man stood up and started to make his way towards you. Alright, not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared. Still unsure about him, but willing to be friendly, you offered the stranger a smile. Your whole body was frozen in place as you approached. Not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared. So... Eh? What is this? I thought it was a man or something. It's a guy. A young guy? Do you live around here? What's your name? You looked the man up and down, taking in his tanned skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed, the way he was acting wasn't. And he has sharks on his pants and a cute tattoo. He looks active and friendly and kinda playful as well. He had sharks, yeah, I just mentioned. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo. Oh yeah, that's a stingray. And you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. He seems like he would be really good at surfing. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for your answer to his question. Yeah, I live here. I live right here. My name's May. He continued to say nothing. Let's be friendly. Oh, great. Nice to meet you, May. He gave you a broad smile, relief settling on his face. Eh? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him.
Well...
Could you do me a favor? Nothing bad, sorry, I should have let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove. So he is a man, not a guy? Who's about your age? He's a daddy! Oh gosh, Cove, that seemed like a strange name for an actual living person to you. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. You thought that was pretty cool. Let's say it was pretty cool. You've never met anyone with that name. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured toward the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be May S, right? I met your moms earlier and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... Okay, so I'm 8, okay. He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Wait, so this daddy Cove State is giving an 8-year-old girl $20, $20 bills to make friends with his son? Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid. You'll like
Do
him.
you mind?
But you gotta keep it a secret too, okay? It would be friendly to say his dad sent you. You eyed the man.
Do you mind?
Oh wait, whoa, I keep doing this. Okay, I'm touching the pad, not the mouse. Okay, mouse. I'm not touching the mouse. I'll put it over. Gosh, okay. With the pad. Alright, you kind of felt sorry for Cove. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendship? Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. To be honest, I want to choose the third one, but I'll do this. What could be so bad about this Cove kid that his dad would need to bribe strangers to be friends with? What do you say? Want to make a deal? You took the bill, you didn't want the money, you ran away. Let's take the bill. Oh, you carefully plucked the bill from his outstretched hand, grinning at the thoughts of what you could do with that much cash. All the sweets you could ever want. You could buy a ticket for the newest movie at the cinema. There was a cute stuffed animal you've seen in the store in town. It cost a few dollars to set up a library account. With this, you could pay for yourself instead of having your moms do it. You weren't even sure yet. I won't go with a pet because you really have to be careful. You have to think a lot of things before you actually get a pet. You need responsibilities, so not the animal. I love movie, and I also like library card. I would go with second or the fourth. Let's see. Let me think. Movie. You're already planning to ask your moms to take you. And that was just the start, you thought. The sky was the limit with that kind of amount. The man smiled at you, his eyes crinkling at the sides as he did. Great, that's great. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted him to meet and greet with the neighbors today, but, well, I don't know where he's got enough to. He laughed when he said that, but with the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. If you see him, can you tell him to come on home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss it. Can I get this either way? Sure thing, I can try. Okay, sure thing. This definitely wasn't the normal way kids make friends, but you knew that, but you were still going to help. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head, paused before doing so, then pulled his hand away instead. Your moms are already checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. And now I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting here. And the text keeps saying moms instead of mom. I wonder if I have more than one mother. Or if it's just a translation error. I thought he might come back in. That's not what's important. I have to go. Thanks again, May, so much. He jogged off down the street without another word. You decided to check the hills behind your house. Step 1. First sight. The chirping of crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. You've always loved the ocean. It was so much fun. You loved to hear stories about the sea, about the merfolk and sea serpents you imagined living far beneath the whales. You did enjoy the beach all that much, especially the sand, which got absolutely everywhere. I loved your stories. Sometimes you could almost convince yourself you had seen the flash of a shiny mermaid's tail in the distance. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try to relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. Oh, I think that's Cove. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. The deer didn't have green hair, but this new boy did. You watched as it fluttered softly around his face in the breeze. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another, and then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shiny with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. His pink cat seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back, Something the man earlier had said stuck out to you. Cove? Uh, eyes wide, he studied you. How did you know that? You touched the money in your pocket, feeling it crinkle beneath your fingertips. I met your dad.
Oh.
So is this your heel? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. You can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on a patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why you're here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked a question. Almost like they never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. Wait, what is it? They don't want to live together with me anymore. Huh? The tears fell last and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave, and he took me with him, and now we have a house here and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping out his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry, your dad seems kinda nice. You'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. Stop crying. Quite a tough one to say, stop crying. I'm sorry. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. You felt bad for him being forced to come here with no choice. You couldn't imagine what it would feel like to live with only one of your moms, but it must be pretty hard. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. May!
Cove?
Kids, where did you go? Oops, I keep pressing something else. Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
Oh. You can handle it. You have to go. Don't worry so much. Sorry I have to. It'll be okay. Don't worry so much. Sure, maybe it's weird and you're not gonna like it, but your dad's there too, right? Yeah. So you're not really all by yourself. Even if it feels like it, you just gotta tell him how you feel. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself to your feet. He can't do anything if you don't make him hear you, right? Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked toward the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm.
Sorry.
I still don't want to go. I could, wait with him. Yeah, I get it. You do? Before you could answer, you heard Cove's dad, even closer than before. There you are, bud. Oh, but his dad is way too handsome, and they don't actually look alike. They don't look like dad and a son. They look like brothers. Anyway, I'll keep reading. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you and they rushed over. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. So I do have two mothers. Wait, I'm gonna music down a bit. Maybe volume. I wonder if it sounds okay. Please let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet, okay? Okay, both of your moms are at your side. Okay, filled with worry. May, you're here after all. We up at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might gone off further away. No, we were just sitting in the grass. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? He looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. Isn't this going too far? I think I'm gonna marry him. Let's just say, yes, I like him. You nodded, smiling slightly. Finally letting go of his scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing May knows this whole area so well. Absolutely, we should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove.
Bye.
Cute Cove. The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Sure. Can I show him my stuff? It sounds like words. You nodded, ducking your head down.
Of course.
Of course. Then okay. Both of your moms laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. I think it's for me instead of mom and dad. I have two moms. Is that right? Are they like a couple? Choose your feelings for Cove. Okay, relaxed. Just fond, I think. Okay. At the breakfast table the next morning, you finished your food faster than usual. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stay put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cole was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, May? Yeah, I am.
How sweet.
I'm so happy he moved in.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Entirely empty. Good job. He should be here soon. Clean up again, and then there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. May, could you get it? Wiggling out of your chair without really pushing it back, you made your way to the door. Hey, yes, family, thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying, with his dad standing in front of him, and mom and mommy behind you. You and Cove looked at each other. Pleased to see your new friend again, you smiled at Cove. He smiled back with some hesitation. Let's go play in my room.
Okay. Take care.
Have fun, kids.
See you.
Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Me too, I drew that. Thank you, I don't. Thank you. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You started to feel a bit nervous. You felt the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You were glad for the company. You hoped he liked your room. You were glad for the company. It was nice to have someone new to play with. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you had collected, tucked away by your door. You took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. I think so. Yeah, see? You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like, Shiloh. He actually meant it. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Shiloh is gonna be here today. Shiloh? Lacey's friend, or like her #1 fan, I guess. Do I have to see him? It should be okay. I mean, he's Lacey's friend, not mine. But you know. Come on, check out my shell some more. I found this one under a big piece of seaweed that had washed ashore, and you pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you've gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning up the sand. Over the past few years, you'd even learned some of their scientific names. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Your voice faltered a little bit, but you kept going as best as you could. I think the personality is... It looks smart if I choose the first one, and friendly with this one, and a bit shy. I'll go with stories. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. Like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back into the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost a twin to his own. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, but Cove hadn't been mean to you, so you didn't mind. You smiled at him every now and then while showing him your collection. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not that a parent made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great, okay, but be careful. You should have asked. To be honest, I would say you should have asked, but I would say okay, but be careful. They're only 8 years old. Anyway. I will. You weren't sure if you could trust someone else with your treasures yet, so you stayed next to him while he opened the lid and peered inside. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh, like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. That's my favorite too. I like a different one best. I can show it to you. You can take it. That's my favorite too. Cove smiled at you and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades of dark and large orange. If you held it to your ear, you could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped and startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lucy's friend. You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be alright. He's here. We can't tell him to leave. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. Do you want to break your other arm? Oh, hey. Sheila's the least scary person alive. Cheer up, Sheila's gonna like you. Please don't get hurt. I'll come with you. Good idea, let's go. Should I go with him? Or should I say... I'll come with you. Hurry, they'll see where we're going. He glanced back at you, then nodded. The two of you made your way to the window together. It wasn't much of a distance to clamber out, but by the time you landed gently in the bushes, you looked up to see that Cove was already taking off away from the house. He was fast, but you knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast. You knew you could outrun him if you had to. He was not that fast, but neither were you. At that speed, you weren't sure if you could go fast enough to reach him. Let's see. Well, Cove's dad looked really active and seemed that he was really good at exercising and all that, so maybe Cove, because he's his son, I think he would be fast. But I think I'll be able to outrun him. Cove! You ran as fast as your legs would take you, grass whipping around your ankles as you did so. Cautiously, Cove slowed to a halt and looked back at you. Where are you going? I don't know, somewhere else. I just don't want to see. May! Hey? This boy caught up? You looked back and saw Sheila hopping down the hill after you, the backpack he clutched, bouncing all around along the way. What are you doing? Can I come? He must have seen you leaving out the window and followed behind.
Hi!
He looks cute. Oh, hi, are you Cove?
Yeah.
I'm Shiloh. Okay. Yep, are we going back or are we gonna play outside? Shiloh's eyes moved between you and Cove. The smile remained strong on his face. It got a tiny frown from Cove in response. You were just grateful he hadn't asked why you had been running away. Inside, we left the box on the floor. Right, my shells and stuff. We have to make sure they are okay. With Shiloh trailing behind, you and Cove headed back toward the house. So cute. The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove was having fun. Hey, check out this scallop shell I found. Cool, right? It's a pretty color, kinda like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay. Oh? Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. Might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
I like those colors too. There are better colors. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence. You looked back at your shells. I like those colors too. Both of them smiled. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Where did she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park and he looks towards you. There's a park? Yeah, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, May? The park is fun. I love it. The park is really great. No. What if I say no? But let's say it's pretty great.
Yeah!
It's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool.
So, are we going to find Lizzie?
I don't know, I never really wanted to see her. So honest. I just wanted to check the park out. As if without any direction, she will finally turn to you.
Okay.
You perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth.
Hey, Lizzie.
Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide.
May, Shiloh. Hi.
She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thump. Oh shoot. Oh sorry, I was touching the lettuce. Alright. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You wondered if he would leave too. Wait a second. I have to go and wash my hand because I got a scar and I actually put some medicine on it without any bandage and I just touched it, so my fingers are kind of sticky right now. I'll just go wash my hands really quick and come back. Wait up. I'm back. I wasn't supposed to say medicine, was I? Ointment? It's kind of an ointment that I just touched. Anyway. I'll continue reading. Right, you wondered if he would leave too. Oh, Lizzie's very tanned. Who's that? She's very tall.
It's Cove, he's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove whispered in your ear, "Oh, quiet enough that the others wouldn't overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills." It couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick up your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. Oh, you are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom said, you're May's
Yeah.
age. Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Sheila's just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth.
Oh.
Whoa, so only 4 kids here and Shiloh's is a visitor? That's quite shocking. For a second, it looked like he might cry again. Something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids? They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Only some of them don't like kids. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. Yeah, they're really bad. Stop saying stuff like that. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Sheila was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and May in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Sheila looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Sheila's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was at something else entirely. You didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. He offered him a small smile, and that at least looked to reassure him some. They're cute. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. During your first summer together, you really liked Cove. He was a fun person to stay with, and he seemed to like playing with you too. Of course, there was only the start of things. Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you'd been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you'd first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two, smiling at Cove first and then his dad. May, hi.
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up today, mate? Taking a walk? I found a pretty cool snail across the road. There's lots of snails around here. Mr. Holden grinned at you kindly. After he finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun, you know. Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You gave a ready nod, turning to squint in the direction of the stores like you could see the goods they had to offer all the way from where you stood. Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't mind. Great, I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp pen to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend too. Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightened back up. The bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. We took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked up Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for snails? Are you looking for shells? What is it? You didn't feel the need to ask why. Cove started a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled a sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You can manage that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You are good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visit the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant, white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. You didn't either. What did you want to go to shops for? What do you usually do on the beach? We have a purpose here. I need a new sand pail.
Yeah? What happened to your old one?
Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second.
Well,
It disappeared.
What? Really?
Cove ducked his head down, placing his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so you nudged his arm.
How did that happen?
Well, Cove opened his mouth, then shut it again, considering. I took it to the beach one day.
Uh-huh.
When I got home, it wasn't anywhere.
You left it there?
No, it wasn't at the beach when I went back.
Then you lost it.
It disappeared.
so...
What about you? What do you do out here? What should I say? I like swimming, I like looking at fish, I like to build sandcastles. Considering that she's 8-year-old girl, let's say sandcastles.
Last summer, Lizzie and I built one that was as tall as me, and sometimes they have sandcastle building competitions down by the boardwalk.
Cool, I bet you could win. He smiled at Cove. Maybe the two of you would build one together one day. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. Yeah, considering that there are lots of visitors here, it seems like the shopping area might be really crowded, and yeah, it seems like there's gonna be lots of things they sell. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. I love pizza and pretzels. It's nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were also many things to do. You didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Coach was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. With another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander. In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read The Amazing Alexander in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on the sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as The Amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. Maybe you could stay and watch. Cove glanced back at the man. He then briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning them to place. You grinned, waving for him to follow you as you raced back to stand in the crowd. With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card off the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his finger and then the card just disappeared. Whoa! The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Tell me! This had to be going somewhere and you needed to find out. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer. It was great. You felt a tug and then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. What? You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it. There was light applause from the crowd and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them, tied down to his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you're really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits, not the balloons. It's stuffed with cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designed for him. Maybe it wasn't so special. Cove was just ruining the fun. At least you had a fun time. You wondered if Cove's whole family was magic. At least you had a fun time. You saw a magic trick and you got a great balloon. That was more than enough to make it a worthwhile event. You thought that if you could find a card to practice with, maybe you could make it disappear too. The crowd started to clear some and you noticed to the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored, what is this, kaleidoscopes on display? Let's see. How about a cube? These are cool. Will you hold my balloon while I look at this? Cove nodded, taking your balloon and holding it in the same hand as his own so you could get a good grip on the cube. He stood next to you and watched as you attempted to match the colored rows. You managed to line up all the green squares on one side of the cube, but there were still 5 more sides to go. Deciding that it was something that you should continue on all the time, you set the cube back on the rack and took your balloon from Cove, who moved to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Did you have places like this in your old town? Are you having fun? I don't really like it here. You said nothing. Are you having fun? He nodded, and you smiled back at him, happy to hear it. When Cove moved towards some stalls nearby, you followed beside him. Ah, cute. While Cove looked at sand pails, you were drawn to the table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They were the shape of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. I will grab. Let's pick. Actually, I want a dolphin. Your hand stopped on the dolphin, so similar to your balloon animal. It was made up of bright material that caught the sunlight when you picked it up. You remembered once seeing a pod of dolphins swimming out in the distance at the beach, jumping out of the water and splashing as they dived back in again. That was a great day. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. For an 8-year-old kid, you rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. It was a grand sum of money, but you couldn't spend something that was at home instead of in your pocket. Maybe you'd have to ask your moms to bring you here again one day, now that you knew what you wanted. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money.
Alright.
It's fine. Really? Are you sure? Hooray! You don't have to. I don't want you to get it for me. Really? Cove took the keychain from your hands and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself too. I was always gonna get you something. I already got the money for it. He smiled, pleased to have things work out. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you too. You had to remember to thank him next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side. Your balloon dolphins knocked together and spiraling around in the air. You You watched Cove hold up his new veil to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove! Yeah? Let's say I really like this keychain. Thank you. It's nice. Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's get some food. Yep. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over to you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing out hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamon. And you? I like, no almonds? Or should I get the same? Or sprinkles? Cheese, chocolate? Plain? She's an 8-year-old girl. Sprinkles? Sprinkles. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. And I also like about this game that there are lots of selections. It's fun. It had a vanilla coating and 100 colors. Oh, vanilla coating, I like it. Then it was the best choice. Your mom didn't let you eat too much sugar, but this was a special occasion. Sure it is. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at a still, balled-up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tucked the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist.
Oh!
Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remained attached, he smiled satisfied. Can you do it for me? He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the calves restricting his fingers on one hand and the string already tangled around the other.
Okay.
The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now and free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon, bringing it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned to face down towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel on the wrapper, and he was gripping his dolphin chew. My name is Merryweather, sorry. He's the Prince of Dolphins. My name is Splash. They star in movies. My name is Cherry. She's actually an alien. My name is Sand. They're just a regular dolphin. Just a regular dolphin. You sighed, thinking about how great it would be to have a pet dolphin of your own. What's yours? Cove considered this question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation. It's... With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no. He's such a crybaby! For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. You made a joke, you offered to find Alexander, you offered to give Cove your balloon. I'll give him my balloon. You looked at Cove, then up to your balloon, bobbing gently in the air above you. You can have mine? That was better than letting him cry more. Cove sniffled, glancing out at the balloon, then back at you. No, it's yours. I don't want to take it from you. It's okay, really. Cove shook his head. Even though it wasn't your fault, you felt bad. Still, the offer seemed to lift Cove's spirits, and that was good. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late at that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sandpail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. Such a beautiful scenery here. You watched the waves and the sunset, fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. Before pressing this, is it okay to like press everything here? Sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Sheila sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. Oops. I think the music is quite too loud. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon. Well, the waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering in blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you've heard about Cove's old life so far in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like, make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. He thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here with you and Sheila and Lizzie and everyone else. He couldn't even go into the sea. This town wasn't bad. It had all the favorite things in it. But sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and you finally said aloud what you had been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah.
Oh,
You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids.
yeah.
This is not going to be helpful at all. And this is... So... I'm fine here on land. Alright. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on this situation. Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Sheila's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Sheila's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff.
Okay.
He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Sheila, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine is gonna be a real castle. Cool, this is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a mansion? Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you guys have designed a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Sheila didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you'd built. Sheila had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of shells, but were still options. The first thing you reached for was a seashell? It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. The blue color of it still reminded you of the clear water, so you put it in a funny place where it would take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Sheila seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at other one's work. I want to see Cove's. The castle Cove had built looked surprisingly tidy, especially for someone in a cast. He must have worked really hard. He wasn't even finished digging the huge, gaping road in front, but it was already enormous. You got the sense from the enthusiasm he was digging with that the doctor was probably going to find a bunch of sand when he finally removed the pink plaster. The silence was then broken. What's on the top of yours, Sheila? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Sheila's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
It's good, that's smart. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I guess I don't see it. I should be an architect. You should be an architect. Kinda looks more like a worm. This is mean. Yeah, I didn't think of that. You really know a lot about this. Sheila smiled without a word, and that was that for the current topic. Hey, can I see what you did? Sure. He scooted just a bit nearer and began serving your work. All you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you got really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at. Compared to Cove and Sheila's buildings, probably even bigger. Sheila quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey May, what did you do? This is my mansion. Looks great. Your house is so big. It's a mansion. Is being a house bad?
No.
No, but we each made our own place. Nobody's the same. I think we are. What is it? Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Absolutely. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. That's a really good saying from his dad. Of course, everyone is a real individual. I don't think I'm very special.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Sheila simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Sheila shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Sheila was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, May? He waited to see if Sheila would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you considered Cove's question. I wasn't there, they didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I didn't think my mom has met... Oh, it's Sheila. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, probably. I'm pretty sure she hasn't. May's parent and my dad met the same day I met her. I'm gonna say what happened. Sheila frowned to himself, tucking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. But I want Cove to finish his story. Sheila could talk about stuff after Cove had a chance to share what he planned it on. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand and then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones where we met for the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you gonna finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Okay, why didn't you want to tell the story if nothing happened? You really gotta get better at telling stories. That was a pretty bad story. Thanks for telling me. What should I say? What should I say? Isn't this being too nice? Thanks for telling me. This is mean. This is not good. It's gonna just keep on going with silence. This is mean. I'll just say this. You're welcome. Even if not much happened, you weren't gonna complain about knowing the story. Sheila's mouth twisted in a squall of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why did you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Well,
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved to here. Dad showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows forward a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the hands. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Sheila, fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand, had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Sheila.
yeah?
Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how you got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this, perhaps. It was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh. A huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but soon you got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses and nobody's named Cove.
Who asked you to come?
What? It's probably just your dad bugging May's family some more cause you don't have anyone else who ever play with you. That's so mean, Shiloh. Aww, Cove blinked. The tension at the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't even ever known that what kind of thing would bother Sheila. I'm sorry. Me too, I was just wondering. This is not gonna work. Not this either. Are you gonna build more? You nervously messed with the sand. Are you gonna build more? You wanna keep building sandcastles? Yeah, okay. Cove glanced at Shiloh, whose smile hadn't returned to full power, then at you. Alright. What a relief. You were glad it was settled. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Sheila's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least you tried to do something to resolve it though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, it stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together toward the neighborhood. Your walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly cutting up and thinking about something. Let's ask. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask.
Hey Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face.
Oh, I was just wondering. Cole fell silent again for a few moments, then sighed. Why does Shiloh act like that when I said he was all red a lot? He's just being a baby. He gets embarrassed. Embarrassed? But I didn't say anything that bad. It might have upset him anyway. I guess I can get it why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still solemn. Hey May, was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot. Oh. An uncomfortable weight settled in your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holden. It's really... Your dad does do stuff so you'll hang out with my family, but Shiloh shouldn't have said that. You decided to tell him about how his dad offered you money. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Ooh, should I tell him the truth or a lie? But the truth is, May is having fun with Cove. I'm worried because there might be a misunderstanding if I just say this. And even this, lack of information. This is a total lie. But there's this timing, right? If I say this, he won't try to meet me anymore. And it's gonna be bad. I'll go with this. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You haven't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure I was okay as well.
Thanks.
Thanks for telling me. Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets was hard.
You're welcome.
By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Let's hug. You stepped forward and wrapped your arms around him tightly. You turned your head, resting your chest on his shoulder. Cove stood there awkwardly with his hands at his sides. He wasn't much of a hugger, but you didn't get the impression he was unhappy that you were. Bye, Cove. See you tomorrow. Yeah, bye, May. You pulled away, then jogged towards your house. When you looked back, you saw Cove making his way back home too, as if he felt your eyes on him. He turned around. He waved. You did too. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. Yeah, I'm still not sure. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It would be terrible if it made him feel bad. What if he didn't want to play with you anymore? You might change your mind sometime. There was always tomorrow after all, but for now it was definitely something that you keep to yourself. With a final look, you went inside your home. Okay, do I have to select every single event here? Long day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Sheila. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Sheila looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel frustrated. He was always wanted to hear what you thought instead of giving his own opinion, and expected you to come up with the plans. It was hard work, especially for such a hot day. You drained yet another drink and found it at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet, something like maybe ice cream cone. Nothing beat a classy, creamy scoop of ice cream on a day like this. There was nothing like to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your mom didn't keep sweets in her house. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. You sighed. As much as you really wanted that tree, it was going to happen. What's wrong? I want an ice cream cone. Sheila, who had been dropped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have any here, and I don't have any money.
Oh, let me check if I have any.
Sheila, does he have money? Just over $1, you announced this to Sheila. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he had been watching you expectantly. Oops. He says start. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lift couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep, all over the house. Okay. Oh. A $20 bill. I'm not gonna read this all out because this is not about Cove, so I'll just move on. $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough?
Yeah. Yay.
So they're out here to buy ice cream cone. Where's Cove anyway? Where's Cove? Let's go. So yeah, finally, soft ice cream.
You can finish it.
So this is an event with Shiloh and May. Are we friends?
Yeah, I think so. I'm sorry.
Why? Why is he sorry?
You didn't do anything.
I just don't know if you like me. It's like it doesn't matter what I do, you're gonna act the same. I could be anybody, and you wouldn't care.
No, I like you. I really, really like you. I want to be friends.
Okay. What's this conversation? Alright. I'll just kinda keep going. Lizzie and Cole, they're together? What are they doing? What's that? You walked straight over Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you... What is this? I should carefully ask what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You want to hear the story. Cove, what happened? May, I got yelled at. He took a deep, steady breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Huh? Lucy jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Her heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that cone to for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Sheila knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to the kids. Without any reason, huh? Didn't matter if they were really nice like Cove. Yeah, Lizzie drew her to herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction.
Uh-huh.
I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do?
No! I'm just gonna stay away.
You could teach them a lesson.
Ha 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 ha. What?
You should ding dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great cause they're so slow. They'll never catch you.
I don't think it's a good idea. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a quack, quack, quack chicken.
That is so mean, Lizzie. Whoa, Cove glared but didn't take the bite. Lizzie turned to you.
You're not a chicken, are you?
She's so mean. You'd rather just avoid them. You looked at the house. Behind those closed doors looked two beings, rich in years but poor in impatient. Maybe they deserved a retaliation, maybe they didn't, but that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. It was safer to stay far away from them, especially since Cove took their outbursts to heart. I'm not doing it either.
Another chicken for the coop. This is a hen house now.
If we're chickens, you're a lizard. A lizard. She wagged her tongue at his face.
Still better than a bird brain. Chick chick chicken.
Huh. The condo door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's. What? What are you kids doing, lottery outside my house? Or maybe he was always just in a terrible mood.
Nothing.
Nothing. He repeated the word as if it was the greatest crime anyone could commit. Nothing good, more like get lost. It wasn't as if he owned the space outside the house, but Cove's eyes, still red from his earlier tears, were wide, and you thought it would be best to heed the old man's comment. Lizzie took off, with Sheila immediately trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of glass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoying the feel of the cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Cove lifted his hand.
I told you there were mean grandparents around here.
Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting with Shiloh, who eagerly joined in this conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. And it's fine. You wriggled closer to Cove. He had calmed down for the most part and was inspecting a flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals towards him.
That's a puppy.
Cove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower.
And the type of poppies on this hill have the name white linen poppy.
Mom told me. He quirked a smile. That's funny. He ran a finger around the edge of the petals. It didn't feel like cloth. You'd need a lot of them to make anything. He nodded and released the delicate plant. Evaluation complete. This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what it was called. Thanks. Wow, there are so many options here. I can also type my own answer. Let's just say I like all flowers. It's too hard to pick just one. Sorry, flowers. He chuckled. You're so nice.
Thanks.
You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a smiling face looking back down at you. You nudged Cove and pointed to it.
Look, it's a smiley face.
Cove joined you in looking up the sky. The clouds twisted, turning one of the dots making an eye into an eye. It's winking at us. He chuckled at the silly face. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide.
Let's go to the beach.
There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. Well, alright. So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. You stepped into the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been an hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet.
I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything.
That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be serious about everything.
You're the one who asked what would happen. This is what would happen. It hurt the fishes.
I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun.
Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious.
You never heard Lizzie use that word before.
Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time.
Hey, when's your mom gonna pick you up anyway?
Not for a while. She's busy.
What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does.
Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about?
You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward for just having both of your moms.
It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and May. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great.
Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways.
Yeah.
Cove couldn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's sprays with a grin. You are already too dirty and wet for comfort. Nothing that happened there would feel as good as getting dry. You got out of the water before anyone could catch you again. Perching on a rock, you scraped the wet sand from your legs as you watched the others. The sand came away in thick chunks at first, like clay. The where it had been thinner, it had really already dried and clung to your skin. Cove and Lizzie were relentless, while Shiloh mostly just dodged. Shillow's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by a falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain as you all hurry over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head and his soaked clothes just clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay?
Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
You dumbo.
Shiloh didn't take Lizzie. Okay. Then he slipped on the.
Sorry.
that all you have to say for yourself? They certainly did. Papa. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. You've been out making memories, Booger. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his hat off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as fun. That might be right, kids. What can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winced at the thought.
Okay. Take care.
Good night.
Fine, fine. Ugh.
This moment was about more about Lizzie and Shiloh, I think. So I have to buy a package to see these ones, right? After 2 memories more, I can click on Summer Ended. Then I think it might move to step 2. This is the childhood part. Let's see grown up. Once a sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove. Listen to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the 2 of you along with Lizzie to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to your mummy. So your sister was starting to get impatient, waiting for her golf class that evening. The 3 of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. They're always inside, telling everybody they're too busy to play.
Why?
Duh.
I said what? And it'll be fun. Duh. What do they do inside that we don't besides use the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore
What do
Cove.
you think?
Do you want to? Cove said that doesn't sound fun. Come on, neither of you have had one single idea all day. Fine. With her victory against Cove under her belt, Lizzie turned to you. I'll try, but that sounds boring. Okay, I'll stay. I hope this is as fun as your promise will be. Lizzie looked at you deadly serious. It's the most exciting idea I've had all week. Satisfied that neither of you were all about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Me, you, and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Why can't I pick anything I really want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? Yep. But that's other kinds of sports too.
Right?
It isn't the same. What do you think, May? Don't those choices sound super cool? You wanna be that, huh? Isn't there anything else we can be? Lizzie stomped a foot on the ground. No, come on, just decide already. Knowing Lizzie wouldn't let this go anytime soon, you sighed. Cove was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it for now. He thought over the list of possibilities: beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all that, you'd prefer to play beach volleyball? If you couldn't spend the afternoon at the beach for real, then you might as well pretend you were there. You could even wear your swimsuit to make it seem more realistic, although Lizzie probably wouldn't let you run up and do that now that she had your hair. Yes, that was clearly the top option.
Okay, I'm gonna be a volleyball player.
Alright!
How about you, Cove?
I'll have a volleyball team too. Lizzie threw her hands in the air, making an annoyed sound.
You guys can't be the same thing. That's not how it works.
You didn't say that. The rule was picking from the list. You can't keep adding more. Lizzie looked at the two of you, then shook her head. Besides, is losing this battle but not the war.
Fine. You're both volleyball players, but you're on the same team because there's only one.
Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide.
The Olympic team.
What?
We're Olympic athletics who just competed in the Olympics.
Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and just adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific.
Rude!
Oh, that's what it makes fun anyway.
Lizzie marched back and forth in front of both of you, getting lost in her own imagination.
I won all gold medals and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright.
Who's that?
It doesn't matter if you know who she is, it's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Your team placed at silver. It's more real if we are not all first place.
It's not bad. It may not be first place, but you knew that silver medals were still really good to get at the Olympics. Oh, Cove, but it isn't gold.
Sorry.
Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks.
Then you're the one who did not me.
No way, it wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game.
She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretended to swing her club, and hit an invisible ball. So, what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him, apparently, because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm going to live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out of her tongue.
That's kind of boring. We already have that.
No, not like the normal houses here with the street. On it, right on the sand by the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you would want to live.
That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells.
But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him. You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything?
Jeez!
Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you.
Cuties.
One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing.
It's not fair.
How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her arms balled into fists at her sides.
It is not impossible. It's better than yours.
Disagreements always seems to crop up when the two of them were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand, this time you thought being on the beach was cooler.
Who wouldn't want to live in the beach? It'd be really great. You could have windows made from driftwood and seashell wind.
He smiled slightly over the agreement, then turned to Lizzie with bolstered confidence. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach. We can still swim any time we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything. Says you. The two of them squalled at each other.
You're being so unreasonable. You.
I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense.
Ugh.
It does. You have to be realistic. I said that.
But you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Oh. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her shirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie, May, it's time to get ready to go.
You alright with that?
Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mommy says she'll walk you home so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger.
I can go by myself.
But
Bye.
By May. There was still a harsh edge to the brief farewell, but you knew it wasn't you he was mad at. Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight.
Huh?
Okay. Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with your new friend, weren't you?
we were playing pretend and things got intense. They were like cats and dogs.
Her sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed as Mom put both hands on her hips. Elizabeth, I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown.
I know, I tried, but he was.
That's enough.
No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind into it. We are going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. Alright, we better get a move
Let's
on.
go.
So they're going somewhere? Yeah, let's cheer her up. You were happy to see it brightened her up right away, and she started singing along with you. Soon enough, her bad mood was a thing of the past. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms to try to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. Guess it's a nice wrap-up of the day.
So,
Oh. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Okay, let's move this to the kitchen. Yeah, but it was actually, yeah, you didn't regret it. You remember the number of Cove's house, don't you, honey? Okay. Evening, Holden residence. It's Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Hi, Mr. Holden. Oh, the gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter? It's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you, Cove?
What?
A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good you didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was something shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because you could still hear him calling out, Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's. Come on, Bob. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you.
Are you sure?
May's on the other end listening too. Don't you want to say hi? It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad.
hi.
Oh, hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know. Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scrawling. One stern look from her though, and Lizzie turned away.
Sorry.
Oh. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. I want gold.
And I think, oh, May should win too. Really? He thought you were worth gold even though you hadn't even wanted it?
Alright, we all win the goal.
Okay, I guess I'm sorry too. I'm glad it worked well. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cole felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really.
Yeah.
You can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, May. Ah, so sweet. You perked up at the mention of your name. You smiled even if he couldn't see it.
Bye, Cove.
With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention.
Can I go now too?
Good job.
Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing to Cove. Okay. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with your spring in your step. Okay, before I see the last memory, I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some water too. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. This is a nice game. I feel like I'm with them. Alright, fireflies.
Alright!
Tonight we're going to catch fireflies. As this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out in warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy, and you know there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Yeah. You rocked lightly from side to side in your seat, already excited for your after-dinner activity. Catching fireflies was a great way to spend a summer evening, and you could already envision the little lightning bugs drifting through the darkened sky. Well, even for me, I don't like bugs, but fireflies, they look beautiful at night. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we... Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here, like always his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why, probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree.
Well,
It's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while we waited there for their response.
there.
Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back.
Yes.
Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph. But wait until you'd finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full.
Fine.
Right. Make sure you stay on the hill behind the house with all the puppies, okay?
Duh.
Well, that's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories that Mommy read out sometimes. All too quickly it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Mom said like a joke, but you knew that they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster as she should. Elizabeth,
Jeez.
no one's gonna die. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it. Her big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Gove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Gove, hi, you're here? Ah, it's me. Hi, Gove. Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there, it meant he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks, bye. Lizzie.
Thank you.
Why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here, alright? Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him. Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by, holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you gonna catch fireflies with us? Let's say this. You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore.
Yeah.
I can do that. I'd never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The firefly was worn out when he first moved in, and that must not have been anywhere he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. Oh, the clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions.
His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
This will be all so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Sheila trayed so closely after Lizzie, he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a
Bye.
moment he did. Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Sheila by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, May. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. You fell behind, sitting up next to him and matching his stride. He noticed right away.
It's okay.
You can go ahead if you want. You smile and shake your head. I don't. After a short while, the two of you reached the hill behind the house. The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out and creating an almost magical effect. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Sheila was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle.
Wow.
Sheila took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hey guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What?
Oh,
Lizzie has one, that's amazing. Sheila ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or a backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. You had a bandage on your thumb and you tried to be cautious of that. You had a bandage on your palm and you tried to be What's the difference of these two? These three are the same and you're good at not getting cuts or scratches, so weren't too worried about that. I see. Bandage on thumb and palm and two bandage on the hand. Let's see. I will say on thumb maybe. Spotting one close by, you approached with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You close your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. His tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cats waved awkwardly through the air, folding as if forced to clap his hand around the firefly. Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his finger lightly over top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Aww. But this isn't an 8-year-old hand, isn't it? I understand this little hand here, but this looks like an adult's hand. Well, anyway, the firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked. Yeah, you got one.
Cove's lips turned into a slow smile and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. It's beautiful.
Thanks, May. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack, performing an awkward low five. Startled by the extreme moment, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
It's okay. I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Right, bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. Sure. Uh-huh, we can work together. His fake face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. May, this way! You followed the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success, with the both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out and your energy started to last. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily, and his face seemed to really flushed. That was fun, a lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
May, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie and Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning on to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi.
Cove!
You can't roll down the hill, you could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. It was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
That was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. Satisfied with this, Lizzie moved to lay down and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get better vantage point. Okay, I will get to the first place and impress. Make an impression. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duties seriously. Countdown! You quickly got into position as well, resting on your side in the grass and tucking your arms close to your chest. 3, 2, 1, go! The three of you took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at high speed towards the bottom. You squeezed your eyes shut, a delighted laugh leaving you and consequently allowing a few blades of grass into your mouth. You sputtered, reaching up to wipe them away. It threw off your balance and sent you carrying sideways. Everyone started too close together because the slight turn made you, then Shiloh, and then Lizzie glide into a heap. You tumbled down the last few feet in a pile. Shillow's elbow was in your stomach, and you were pretty sure Lizzie's hair was in your mouth. But you had survived. Perhaps it wouldn't have been safe for Cove after all. You could hear him laughing in the distance. When you opened your eyes, you saw the starry sky above, and Cove still on top of the hill, staring down at three of you with an amused look on his face. Cool crash. I think Shiloh was the first one at the bottom. That didn't count. We need a redo. Kids, it's time to come in. You sighed, not knowing if it was from contentment or exasperation and close your eyes again. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't damped anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together, side by side, down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. Such a warm story, isn't it? I'll move to the next step. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, as the five of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You looked to imagining it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. No, we are so dull. Let's get on more.
He didn't do real magic, Mom.
How did you figure that one out?
Duh.
'Cause I know. That's not what real magic looks like.
Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magics in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. You looked over at Cove, who didn't say a word since you started home. He didn't look upset though, just content. You're aware he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan.
Ugh.
Summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. I will put on my best puppy dog eyes. Oh, don't look at me like that.
Like what?
Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well...
No.
Oh, come on, I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside on the stoop. Yes, Mom.
Yes, Mom.
Cove, dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You grinned at Cove and nudged his arm with your elbow. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which she took as an agreement. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tynes and Trickets, or maybe the playground, or the fireflies will probably be coming out, right? Lizzie had her own ideas of what she wanted to, but what were you going to do? You glanced over to Cove, considering. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I've lost a plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. Oh, you thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she was disappearing off down the road. I think Lizzie is trying to give May and Cove a lonely moment. Meanwhile, Cove was going in the opposite direction, heading for the beach. I will stay with Cove. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return.
Cool.
He made a little gesture that you interpreted as follow me and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He railed his arm back, then toasted it out into the water. You were impressed over how far you got the chicken. It sailed away out into the sea. It was a good toss. That was pretty neat. It wasn't a long throw, but he didn't care to try for that. The rock sunk kind of like a rock and fell back down. decided to join Cove. You searched nearby for any rocks or shells that you could throw too. You found a shell that would suit your purposes, a smile growing as you tossed it hard as you could. It landed with a wet-sounding thunk a few feet away and slipping down into the water. When you looked over at Cove, you didn't seem to notice that his throw had been more impressive. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching ideally at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure you couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed, and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. Let's see. When do you get it off? Cove shrugged and didn't say anything. For a second you thought maybe he didn't know, but finally he sighed. A few weeks. Well, that is a while away. Yep, the upcoming weeks flew by for Cove. It was clear how badly he wanted it off. Cove let out a huff, plopping down into the sun. I can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. Cool, you're going to like it. Everyone's super nice. He'd only ever been to the one school, but you're sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
You'd never had to move before, but you thought you could understand. If you had to go to a new school all of a sudden with all new people, you'd probably be dreading it too. Even though you sort of maybe understood, you still weren't sure how to help. Okay, I'll see you later. Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right, Cove wanted to go back to his old home, the one that sat waiting some place far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. It'll be alright. Sometimes when you are sad about something, your mom said that to you. In that moment, you thought it couldn't possibly be alright because Sir Stuff-a-Lot lost his arm, or you skinned your knee, or you couldn't possibly finish all your vegetables. But in the end, they were always right. Oh, you're not gonna leave, right? You'll still be around? Yeah, that question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that would be fun. Cove smiled, then looked back to the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually, that I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. You spared a glance over at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. Can't see it. You could remember a long time ago when you had first started going to school. You had obviously not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day. To listen to strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you'd never met before. Things changing is hard. You're not quite sure what to say to that, so instead you reach out and take hold of Cove's hand. The one closest to you is the one in his cast, so you made sure you were very gentle. As you watched, Cove's eyes got a little misty once more. You got the feeling that they were different tears than the ones from before, though. I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring, and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You will, it will. The two of you said quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. I would definitely try to help in what ways you could. There were so many wonderful things here, Cove probably hadn't even seen it. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Time had really gone by fast. You stood and dusted the sand off of yourself. My mom's coming. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately, okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. May, thanks.
Thanks.
It was nice where you were right then. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your home, leaving the waves and summer behind. In between. So I get to change the appearance? Let's see. Oh, whoa, what's this? Oh. Wow, hand size? Could be just medium. Let's see. Bracelets. Let's see, dresses. And birthmark. Okay, done. Feelings for Cove. Relaxed. I think we could just remain as friends. Or should I go to crush and then for the next one, for the last step, I should go to love for the story? Not so sure. Let's just go with fond. Ah, gosh. Relaxed crush? Gosh, I don't know what to do. But for the story, I should select crush. Font. May. I want May and Cove to get along. So let's go with crush and relaxed. Let's save. Okay. And if I want to come and change, I could load. Always load, right? Okay, let's go. Oh. Okay. Oh wow, he has changed. August ended, September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunsetburg for a while. At school he was alright, but kept his distance from the other kids. From what you saw anyway. Whenever he could, Cove stuck to you like glue. He didn't even mind that much what you did to pass the time, as long as it was together. Sometimes you realized things were exactly the same as when you had first met. But other times as you got older, you couldn't ignore how the feelings had changed in meaningful ways. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. At first, you worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He had said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunsetburn more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. He seemed very confident that it was an effective strategy. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed, but you hoped that you could help him feel better still, since even without the tears he looked sad. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed and suddenly you were in middle school. In middle school? You weren't a kid anymore, you were 13 years old. So 5 years has passed. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast got taken out. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's cheeks flushed with sky pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cole will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did in gym and other athletic situations. Over the years, he became more quiet and reserved. You didn't usually see him talking to other people. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. May dyed her hair purple, wanted something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mommy as a kid. Ah, one of her mom dyed her hair purple. Okay. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted on everyone calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Soares. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Soares was happy to let Derek tag along to his work if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed in small and big ways. You had too. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then, before you knew it, school was over and summer vacation had come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in, wide awake, about to head out to enjoy your time off. Let's see. Let's head out. You made sure to slather on a generous amount of sunscreen so you didn't get burnt. You were looking in the mirror, studying the clothes you had thrown on, when your bedroom door opened without warning. In the reflection, you saw Elizabeth raise an eyebrow. Oh, she has grown pretty. Have you been staring at yourself this whole morning? Can you knock next time? She ignored that, crossing her arms over her chest with a disgruntled expression. Clearly she hadn't come in just to see you. Your special boy is at the door, like he always is now. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him. Say thanks or whatever. You did not like the way she called him your special boy, but you knew by now that saying so wouldn't have stopped her.
Come on.
Oh. Be right there. Now alone, you focus on the mirror once again. Your reflection hardly even fit in the frame. You're very tall. Your reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall. You're average height. I will say average height. Cove was really tall. Derek was kind of short, and you were pretty much the exact height that someone would expect for a 13-year-old. I liked it. It suited you well in your mind. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as that being Elizabeth's word, you planned on going over to see what Cove was up to today, so this worked in your favor. It was when you spotted your reflection that you realized you were smiling wide. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left the room, taking an easy time down the stairs. Step 2, second chance. You spotted Mom first reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was, pursuing though. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile intensely appearing on her face.
Thanks.
Good morning, May. Thank you for coming down. Matt's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house, just as she said, Ma. Ma? Who's Ma? She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder.
Oh.
Look who finally made a morning, sleepyhead. So instead of mommy, I call her mom. Ma. Okay, Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than ever, so you were little in her eyes despite being a typical size for your own age. I may push her hand back and laugh. Not gonna be so ridiculous, you thought, but that was okay. You're the last one down today, you know that? Sorry about the wait. Oh, there's no need for that. What matters is that you're here now. With a small laugh, Matt stepped outside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him to be. Has it been a while what? He's blushing all over. He leaned uncomfortably to the side in your doorway as his bushy hair covered part of his face. His features were pinched in embarrassment and he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must be the much talked about gift. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers. Then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. At the sight of you, Cove smiled, but there was some nervousness to it. Hey, you smiled back. You couldn't help thinking too when you first met Cove and how you became such good friends. Lately, though, you started to have different feelings for him. Hey, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
His grip on the base of the gift tightened and your heartbeat sped up. Even if neither of you had spoken about it, both of you were aware something new was growing into your relationship. Teens. It was already shaping up to be another long summer. The best part was that the two of you had plenty of time to spend together and explore what was developing. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back, and so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. Your hands brushed over his just slightly when you took hold of the base. He flinched enough for you to know with certain certainty that he noticed it happened. You couldn't help but smile to yourself. And with that, the gift was accepted. Well, that's everything. Although he said that, he made no move to go. You could tell he was reluctant too. It feels like I'm teasing him. Thank you. Could you tell your dad we loved the gift? Yeah. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had, though after 5 years you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. If I say this, it's kind of like flirting with his dad. It was sort of funny. Sometimes that could be a good thing, and other times it was a bad thing. Your thought was quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are, who is it? You shared a confused look with Cove. As one, both of you stepped through the open door onto the neighborhood street. Is it the Derek guy? It didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek. Just a few yards down the road, he ran up to you. Confused? You hadn't expected to see Derek today, though you never really knew when he'd appear. Oh, he's cute. After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin.
Hey.
he's really short cute. Uh, he's tall and he's short. Very cute. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured out you'd be at May's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always just there? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped, "What's that?" You followed his gaze unsure, then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This is kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit.
Nice.
Can I have some? I haven't even tried any yet. Not hiding his disappointment. Aw. Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was as surprised as you were by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh, the new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him?
Nope.
I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked. Slowly you looked over to a longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove, when you first got here anyway. Yeah, I guess that was me back then. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that very well, now that you say so. But what do you say? Let's go find Cove's look-alike. We should all meet him.
Sure.
I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned, then he pointed down the street, the way he came. Last I saw, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off, with Derek leading the way. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. A bacon? He scuffled around, kicking up the sand as he paced. It was true, he certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad like you had originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched up expression, he came off angry. You started to have doubts about this expedition. Maybe it'd be better if you left him alone and let him sort himself out. You shared a look with Cove. He was equally reluctant to start up a conversation. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved widely, calling out to the boy. Hey, guy over here! He looks scared. The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper onto his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong hostile energy still radiated from him.
What?
What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it?
No.
I'm Derek. That's Main Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We want to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so you know it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid, of course, I knew it. What?
My parents.
They're the ones who brought me. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right.
My dad brings me to Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not bad. That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation, probably, either. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time. My parents' family is nearby. We just have to come see them. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? What's his problem? Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home. But I'm not allowed to be myself. Poof. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't... Okay, I didn't even read them all. Let's see. Who peed in your cereal this morning? Okay, I'll just say this. Sorry. As if that does anything. You turn to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Jeremy must have a good hearing though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed.
Stupid.
Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger, maybe both. Come on. um... Poof, now I know why you thought we had anything in common. You must be blind. Let's see. You are getting real tired of this. Wow, what is wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice.
Wow, what is wrong with you?
Whoa. I think there's no point talking to him anymore. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go hunched over until he became a speck in your vision. Silence, I can't believe it, what a mean kid. Yeah, Derek wasn't kidding. And by the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do.
This sucks.
I was hoping we could meet someone fun, hang out maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But you know what would really improve the day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point, right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. You'd completely forgotten about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. You had gotten used to the wait. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Why not? Let's eat. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for a skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away.
Are you sure?
Are you sure? You nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without skewer of your own. Let's see. I would like a pineapple. The pineapple was cut to look like a flower. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing. Cove continued munching on his, making a small noise with his mouth full. Hey, you two remember the land before time? The fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs all like the leaves that were shaped like stars. Tree stars.
Yeah.
Chomping leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was that scene with the pretty trees, and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them till there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome. This one's funny. Eating leaves look good. Should I worry about you? Oh, so funny. I've never seen it. You should. It's great and really sad, but still great. Plus, it's about dinosaurs. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Well, it did make you feel better. Derek was right. It was so good you were already brightening up from the earlier drama. Hey, May. Yeah? The two of you met eyes casually. Thanks for what you said back then. It's nice not everyone thinks like that guy. Oh, it's okay. He was just being a jerk. Derek... Derek, don't listen to your Cove. He's the problem. People shouldn't say those kinds of things. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. It feels like there's a lot to plan for.
How about you, Cove? Are you ready?
Mm,
I think that depends. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered.
Hey!
Huh? You glanced over your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Ma said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden bought for us. Oh gosh. We ate everything. It's gone. What do you mean, gone? You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped open and the tone of her voice rose.
What?
Seriously, May, what were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you, and continued mockingly. Even if you're the most person in the household to the delivery boy, this was up to his dad. It seemed everybody was in a mood to tease you and Cove today. Within moments, Cove's cheeks flushed red. He picked at the hem of his shirt, suddenly finding it very interesting. He always became nervous when Elizabeth would strike at your relationship. We were hungry. I think I hear the mean kid coming back. We better get out of here. What kid? I don't see anymore. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just lounged to his feet and ran off. Cove hopped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but he sent a look to you from over his shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. Without a word, you two got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes.
So immature.
She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning. We escaped and shall live to see another day. For now, at least. I still have to face Elizabeth when I go back home. We chuckled together, walking further down the beach side by side. You definitely want to stay outside a little while longer. Oh, later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. You got a bit of scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. The three of them went to get dessert on their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin, Lindra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they'd moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she's gonna want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth too, but now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it intended to be just you and Lee who spent time together. Let's say this one. You often gravitated towards other girls and befriended them pretty easily. Let's say I also had a lot of non-girl friends. Didn't have many non-girl friends. Let's see this one. It seemed like that was just the type of person you associated with most at school. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressed it to your ear. May speaking. You are greeted by a distorted, high-pitched giggle.
What?
Why do you sound so weird? Mom answers the phone like that sometimes. It's supposed to be polite. You should go with hi. That was something a robot would say. I was standing on the end as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of that boring stuff and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out, Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head to my room.
Oh yeah.
You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which was why you'd been sat by its cradle waiting for a leech call. You weren't the only person. If anyone could take their phone anywhere at any time, it'd be an even bigger hassle. You could easily imagine the receiver having a new forever home in Elizabeth's locked room. But now that Liette called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way up the stairs smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. Alright, I'm here.
Cool.
Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone? She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they'd change their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? But yeah, we could even stay up late talking about whatever we want. Lee sighed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they said I could have it someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you popped up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time in normal school would be over and you'd had to choose whether or not to go to college. School was such a big part of your life right now. Let's see. Let's say I worked hard for my excellent grades. Every A plus, is it too much? I don't know. Every A plus you brought home. Oops. What do I have to say? Yeah, you hope to do just as well this year, but it wouldn't be a big deal if they dropped some. Okay, you had a positive record. It wouldn't worth it to stress over every mark. Yeah, you tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled.
What's up?
You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. Everybody in class would sign it, maybe some of the teachers too. Though I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Let's see. Learning new things could be cool. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, not just some people.
Me too.
Lucky, mine's boring. Oh. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. Uh-huh. Do I have to say everything? Gym? I won't talk about gym. That's all. Okay, point taken. Now I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about this summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Oh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. Probably I'll spend time at the beach. I could have guessed that one. You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day set up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like at your neighborhood? His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. Especially Cove, it was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. I want a boy to stay away before even meeting him. That's an unexpected twist. Her cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Hey, who are you to talk? You give practically all your attention to boys, or maybe just one boy. I see how much you like Cove. You got me. Even though she couldn't see, you shook your head at her, grinning to yourself. That was a stumping noise approaching to your room. She could be a little mean too. Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Gotta go, I'll see you soon, okay?
Bye!
Okay, see you. Tell Elizabeth and your mom I said hi too. You barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you laid in bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and an open sky. You were curious. What had caused that noise? Cocking your head, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You wanted to get to the bottom of this. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yeah, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody couldn't didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. To his credit, Cove was doing fine. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out. His arm flexed with the effort to keep him upright. He easily lifted a hand and waved at you from the other side of the glass. You hurriedly opened the window. Whoa, guy sneaking into the room, just like that. Cove climbed over the ledge, releasing a breath once he was safely inside.
Hey.
Huh? What's up, Romeo? Whoa. What's up, Romeo? Nothing good. I wanted to see you. I figured this was the only way. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean, but that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had, eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? I would have done that too. Yeah, you should talk somewhere private if you wanted to stay private. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened, varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. Huh? You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. He couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. What did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon before school starts. Oh. You had
heard Cove talking about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about it, past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across the room, his features painted with dread. Before, they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're gonna be all together again, the three of us. After all this time, just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out. And now I feel really bad for feeling this way. May, it's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already. I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. Well, there's nothing wrong with feeling bad. That is hard to deal with. Cove sniffled. You were afraid he might really start crying, but he didn't. Instead, he smiled. See, now I feel kind of better. Visiting like this wasn't a bad idea. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for a summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The maid debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and as if all that wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove instead again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and difficult. Why couldn't things just get better with time? May, the sound of your name said quietly pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you concerned.
Are you okay?
Who, me? I'm more worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. Moonlight from outside cast shadows across his head and light up his eyes. They seemed to sparkle with his smile. Just that one look brightened your mood somewhat. You know, I think I don't want to talk anymore about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kinda don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? This is friendly and this is it could be a kind of romantic. Should I be friendly? Are you in? Kinda lightening in the mood. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just tonight, you were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you never want to undo. It felt totally natural to let him into your little world. Yet that initial friendship had deepened so much over these past years, and you were certain there was room to get even closer. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. Hockey? You moved closer and wrapped your arms around him. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up and he returned your hug. Oh. The two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was too quiet to tell what it was. When I was a child, he wasn't a good huggy, but now he knows how to return the hug. When you pulled back, his expression has softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilt and broken often by silence at first, then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you knew Cove felt the same. It's great that, May knew that he felt the same. That's cool. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted the bright light that was streaming through your window, warming your peachy skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together, trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day or stay snuggled up for a little while longer. Until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left. He was still there in the morning. I think you shouldn't laugh out loud. I think you should froze. Your muscles refused to move an inch, and your eyes widened as you stared at Cove's sleeping form in absolute shock. If your moms found out he had slept here the entire night, you would both be in big, big trouble. Realizing quickly that you needed to get Cove out of here before your moms or Elizabeth walked in and found him, you willed your body to get a move on and swung your legs over the side of the bed. Whisper? Poke him? Shook? Whisper? Cove, wake up! You whispered his name softly but urgently, and his eyes snapped open as he woke with a start. He scrambled out of the way as he jumped to his feet before almost losing his balance and falling back down. He recovered just as quickly and faced you indignantly.
Hey!
What was that for? Shh! What? The situation down on him too before you even finished the word. Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind.
Oh my god!
I fell asleep. You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove stopped mid-step and you wanted to ask what he had been searching for, but you guess he wouldn't know the answer to that himself. Despite that he hadn't calmed down completely, the atmosphere was still frazzled. Settle down before Moms hear you. Cave nodded. His shoulders tensed as he fixed you with his firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this had played out, but hoped that was true. Right, bye, Cove. At last, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks again. You're a good friend, mate. A really good friend. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder and made you feel tingly. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he had climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with its salty scent. Cove fearlessly stepped out onto the ledge. Good luck, be super careful. You weren't sure if he heard you or not. He kept going along, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as it could go to try keeping watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage, then lowering himself into the fence. From there, he finally dropped down to the ground. You threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You have to admit that you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. Cove always seemed to have a way of seeming to be so smooth without even meaning to. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window, deciding there was nothing more you could do. You hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. It was a habit of yours. You straightened up your sheets smooth over your comforter and fluffed your pillows before stepping back and admiring your work. You took the stairs slowly, attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked at you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the grating.
Why?
Why are you being so weird? You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You turned and offered a tight smile, and your lips pursed together even tighter. May? I'm not. You spoke so, Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something, but ultimately she rolled her eyes and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to take any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. She went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today you were extra glad for it, though you were so grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made, hash browns, an omelette, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. Oh, that makes me hungry. Let's see. A little bit of everything. It was tasty. You appreciated that there was a variety in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by at home and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was perfect, balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over his house right now or to call and check in? You stepped out of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention.
Hi.
Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you. A friendly smile passed her face. You racked your memory for a word you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. I guess it's Cove's mom or something? Not your school or from the country club your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who the woman was. The woman crossed the word towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. Whoa. Whoa, Cove's mom? I never imagined this kind of image. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here and my ex too. She looks so attractive, so beautiful, isn't she? With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner, now that you've gotten a good look at her. She looked really young. She was super pretty. This beautiful lady was Cove's mother. Wow. No matter her thoughts on her, she still felt taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of her face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kyra Priest. You can call me Kyra. Okay. You reached out and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm May, but you already know that.
That I do.
Cove's mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you, May. Cove talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. Nice to meet you too. She smiled at you fondly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. The sound of a door opening and closing caught both your attentions, and when you turned towards the sound, it was to find Cove coming out of his house. Exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he had grown, you kind of figured his mom also would have been tall.
but she has much more on the short side for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father.
My baby.
She calls him a baby. There you are. I thought you were gonna keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eyes as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When you finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he had acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the store is at work. Kyra beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, May. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. There was a pleading in his tone that you couldn't miss. Of course, we'll run it by your parents first. Responsibility and all that.
Any whoosies.
They'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to me be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on this street for the time being. Any whoosies, let's go. Kyra walked ahead towards her house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her.
Sorry.
But I really want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us, not right now. You leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head silently heavy. Dad was so focused on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard them on the phone last night that was something they were planning for the future. This morning Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's gonna be here all summer. Oh, you were surprised to hear that too. He sighed again, even heavier. I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled. His shoulders relaxed a little in relief. Thanks, that'd be cool. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom had just knocked on your front door and stood behind her. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of her. Hello there, I'm, Pamela.
I see.
Kyra laughed and you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kyra Priest, Cove's mom. It's so nice to meet you. Oh, she's so pretty. A head of purple brown hair caught your eye as Ma popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself in beside her. You have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was. She grinned excitedly at Kyra. The two of them introduced themselves and shook hands. Hi, May, Cove. Oh. Cove smiled at Mom Charlie and she gestured a hand towards the living room. Why don't you come in? I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up with a surprise visit.
Of course.
Okay, so I think they're gonna go.
Have fun.
Okay, have fun. Of course I'm happy.
Marvelous.
Marvelous. Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you backed up onto the street. There was the sound of the front door closing behind you. I'm pretty positive I saw some restaurants when I was in the taxi. Not too far from here.
Yeah.
It's a tourist town, isn't it? There's a lot of them around. Kara put her hands on her lips and smiled at herself.
Well,
You sound like the area expert. Do you have any recommendations for a place nearby? Not really. Oops. Kyra pouted at him a little and turned to you instead. How about you, May? You want to point me in the right direction? Sure, I have a couple of favorites. You've been to a lot of places in town, and there were a couple that stood out from all the rest. There's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorite. There's also a tropical themed place that tries to be sort of fancy. Both sounds like a treat. I'll leave it to you to pick for us, since Cove is going through a phase over there. He huffed at her and turned his face away. The tropical themed place?
thank you.
Will you show us the way? Alright. The walk was about 15 minutes, and along the way, Kyra asked a lot of questions about the area. Cove was quiet most of the time, so you ended up answering her instead. Kyra explained that she lived in a large city, and she loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed in Sunset Bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were shown right to a small table. Kyra lowered herself into the chair while Cove picked the one diagonal to her, not facing her or to her side. It was awkward. Let's see, to start, what would you all like to drink? I'll get an orange. It's Cove. I'll get an orange soda.
Noted.
Nay. Soda? Which flavor? Lime? Sure. Kara placed the order for your drinks, getting a black hot coffee for herself, and it didn't take long before they were brought to the table and set in front of you. You took a long sip of your drink as you looked around the restaurant. Your small group checked over the menus, deciding what to order. The last time you came here, the dish order was amazing. You wanted to order something different this time. Yeah, and I think the fashion she's wearing it really suits well with the place here. Kyra and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Soon the meals too were ordered and the menus taken away. You glanced at the table surface, waiting to figure out what to say. Cove awkwardly sunk back further into his seat and crossed his arm, all while blatantly avoiding eye contact. The sidewalk must be real interesting to him right now. His sore feelings today were unignorable. Instead of asking more open questions, he'd brush off. Kyra had mercy on her son and instead put her focus towards you.
So?
May, what's a few things that you're into? There's gotta be something you do for fun, especially now that you're not buried into school assignments. I go to the beach. Walk along the shore. That's a nice way to relax. I hope to be able to spend some time on the shore while I'm here myself. And I would love to say this, but not now. Let's see. I also like to read poetry. Sophisticated beyond your years, I see. And let's see. I like to watch movies. And I hang out with people. Oh, it's nice to have friends and family to spend time with. I really want to say I'm really into Cove too, but I won't say anything
Thanks.
else. What exactly do you do for work? I'm a travel writer. Oh, I see. It suits you. This is a rude question. This is rude. What do you like to do? Spend time with my little boy, of course, and traveling. A real shock, huh? Where do you live normally? Nevada. Have you ever been there? You shook your head. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you can. It didn't seem to bother her that the conversation dropped off. Cove sipped a soda angrily, slurping up the remaining drink with furrowed brows. He looked ready to run straight out of the restaurant. You weren't sure if coming along had ended up making the lunch better or worse. I'll smile at him. Cove eventually noticed you watching him. It was subtle, but you swore you could see the hint of a smile tinting the corner of his
Very
lips.
cute.
You two seem really cute together. Cove covered his face with his hands. Ah, so cute. And leaned back in his seat.
Seriously?
Why would you say that? Your meals were delivered shortly after that, and everything was so delicious. Even Cove enjoyed his food.
Okay.
Alright, now that we're all full in content, can you explain please why you've had a bug up of your butt all day? Seriously baby, what did mom do to make you this mad? I haven't even been around a full day yet. He gripped the edge of the table, refusing to make eye contact. The words he spoke were barely audible over the din of the restaurant. You could have told me. She leaned forward To not miss anything else? Eyebrows raised. Told you what? He finally seemed to find his voice and spoke the thoughts that had been on his mind. That I wasn't gonna visit you this year, that you were gonna be coming instead. Oh, didn't you invite me? You wanted me here with you? Cove Eyes began to shake his frustration head. I do want you to be around, but I didn't know it'd be like this. It's not the same, and nobody said anything.
I see.
Her expression grew tense. She threaded her fingers together and placed her hands in front of her on the table. We've both been gifted another Clifford surprise. We also had no idea his name was just Cliff. Over 5 years, nobody had ever called him Clifford until now. She smoothed her hair out, not letting go her stern look. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
I'm sorry.
I can go home, Cove. We can still set up a normal trip to my place before the summer ends.
I mean,
I think I do want you to stay. I miss it when you're not there. My heart. Mom, stop. I'm sorry. Sweet young men need to be smoked by their parents. If I don't, they'll take away my mom license. Let me drink some water. Wait. Reading is fun, but it makes me thirsty, so I have to drink some water. Do you want to talk to your dad too?
no!
Cove. Okay. Maybe later, not today.
It's alright.
Understand, we can shelve it. Thanks, Mom. Thank you for talking to me, little mister. She grinned affectionately at him before turning her way. And thank you, May. What did I do? It's easy to chat like a baby with your mom. It's hard to keep that up with your neighbor watching everything. Especially when you really care about what said neighbor thinks of you. She winked. Mom. She just ruffled his hair with a laugh, then moved her hand down to tap the end of his nose. And that was how the issue was resolved, at least between Cove and his mom. When the three of you left the restaurant and Kyra had paid the bill, you walked back to your neighbors slowly. You had eaten so much by that time, you were beginning to feel sleepy. It didn't help that the lunch had happened late and the sun was already beginning to descend from the sky. Oh, whoa! Cove's dad? He never gets old. He's so good looking. I think he is the best looking in this game. But eventually you reach your street. Someone was there to greet your group upon arrival. Welcome back, family, and May too.
Huh.
Dad. The two walked past him into the condo without sparing another word. Despite the summer heat, their shoulders were cold. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. He rubbed the back of his neck with a crooked smile, but his eyes were soft as he looked on after them. He's so much like his mom, don't you think? He gave a vague nod, not sure what he was expecting you to do. He nodded back, far more energetically. Okay, have a nice night, mate. You too, Mr. Holden. With that, Cove's dad disappeared to join the others inside. It was your turn to go home now. Summer hadn't started off at all how you imagine it would have thought, though it turned out to set the tone well. Having Kyra in the neighborhood was a new experience for not only you and Cove, but also both your families, and a dull moment was rarely had. Alright, let's see Wave. The family shopping trip had lasted most of the morning, and you still had to unload everything from the trunk before you could go enjoy the afternoon. You cradled another bag in your arms as you headed towards your house. It was one of the heavier bags from the grocery store, loaded with fresh apples, ripe tomatoes, a bunch of carrots, and even half of a watermelon. Ma came out of the front door as Paul's just ahead
It's
of
no
you.
trouble.
Need any help with that, May? I can bring it the rest of the way if you want me to. Yes, please. I'll step forward to take the bag from your arms, and you headed back to the car to grab a new one. This time you got a smaller bag with a loaf of fresh bread and a couple of packets of dried pasta spirals. You passed Ma again on your way back to the house, and she gave you an encouraged grin and rustled her fingers through your grey hair. You set the next bag on the counter,
Her older sister began to root around inside for the contents with a sigh. How much is left? Still a few more bags. With a huff and a puff, Elizabeth continued putting away the groceries, and you retreated out of the kitchen before you could become the target of her bad mood.
Be careful!
Uh-oh, you haven't been looking where you were going and bumped right into Mom, almost stepping on her toes to boot. Sorry! I can give you a pass this time, but be sure to watch where you're going. If you run into the wrong person, you might get your license revoked. She grinned at the bad joke as you continued through the door. Outside, Ma had started organizing what remained and putting back any loose objects that had fallen out during the trip. When you stepped up to the trunk beside her, she took in a big breath of air, her dress gently swaying around in the breeze.
That's a shame.
It's a shame you had to spend the morning cooping up in that shopping center. It's a beautiful day, don't you think? You tilted your head to the sky, gazing at the clear, blue expanse. Yeah, it is. You closed your eyes and enjoyed the way the sun warmed your face for a few moments before turning back to Ma with the groceries. Oh, hi, Cove. You noticed Mom waved over at Cove, who had just exited his front door. His surfboard propping up under one arm. Let me see, surfboard and wetsuit. Where might you be off to on this beautiful day? Cove instantly startled, and not having realized your family was also out here, even though your mom was the one who called out, you were the one who he looked at. He tried to settle down again. Cove stayed on his side of the driveway, giving a small wave and greeting. After a moment or two of deliberation, he jogged over to properly say hello to you and your moms. It was decidedly awkward since Cove had trouble figuring out how close to stand to you. The addition of his unwieldy surfboard made the whole thing seem even clumsier. Careful with that thing, you'll pull someone's eye out. Mom chuckled and got a whispered reproach from Ma for it.
Ham!
Go easy on him. Cove Wednesday wasn't a big fan of attention under normal circumstances, so in this particular moment he was probably wishing he would be invisible. Don't mind her, honey. How are you today? I'm alright, just gonna surf. Hi, Cove. He had relaxed a little when Ma spoke to him, but the rigidity all came back as soon as you said something. He made your eyes, and it almost felt like you had barflies in your stomach. Oh, so cute. If you want to go to the beach, we could hang out there later. So cute. Sure. Cool. That must have been more enthusiastic than he had intended, because he immediately quieted down. You're not done unloading, right? Can I help?
No.
Maybe can catch up as soon as she's finished here. Alright, I'll see you. Yeah, bye for now. Cove headed on down to the beach with more skip in his step than normal. It was really cute. You smiled softly to yourself and thought that you'd be joining him soon. Oh, May and Cove, they're so cute. Now who's giving him a hard time?
Josh?
Mom's face broke into an incredulous grin. In what way? I'm being supportive.
Lonnie.
Okay, blah blah. I just want May go join Cove. Alright. Let's see. Let's join. Okay, you've been practicing your surfing more and more lately. It was always ready to go. Because every summer, May enjoys her summertime at beach.
Have fun.
When you arrived at the shore, you were greeted by the crash of waves and the soft calls of seagulls. You took in a lungful of the ocean air and felt your peachy skin warm in the sun. You noticed a small setup nearby with a towel, some sunscreen, and a bottle of water. Must be Cove's. You spotted Cove himself nearby. He hadn't gone out to sea yet. He was just sitting in the sand at the water's edge, his board propped up beside him. You strolled up beside him. Hey, I'm here. May. He looked up at you with a smile. I was gonna go in on my own soon. It kinda seemed like you weren't coming. Sorry you had to wait. You don't have to say that, it's okay. Then he cast his eyes out towards the waves. some tips? Cove had read up on surfing more than you have, so you knew it'd been some good tips to help you improve. Yeah, let's get started. You tucked your board under your arm and the two of you ran into the water together. You paddled out into the sea to where the good waves were. The water was cool against your skin.
It's nice.
Not too calm, but nothing crazy. It looks perfect today. He smiled at you and you couldn't help but smile back. You felt totally content. Until Cove kicked the water a little too hard and it inadvertently splashed you. Hey!
Sorry.
You could tell he really did feel bad that you had gotten caught in the crossfire. You laughed for waiting for an opening for revenge. The second he looked away, you kicked back, spraying him.
Seriously?
Is that how you treat someone trying to help? Then here's another lesson. He soaked you deliberately this time. He used his full leg and an impressive curtain of water hit you in the face. You lost your balance and scrambled to keep hold of the board. You just managed to stay on, but it was close. Cove winced. Are you okay? I'm sorry. I'm fine, but we should do the real teaching. Yeah. He chuckled awkwardly and shook some water out of his ear. With that, Cove started telling you all the tips and tricks of how to stay on a surfboard. He demonstrated both good and bad posture and explained where you needed to put your weight. Ooh, like this? You wiggle your body so that you were more in the center of your board. Cove nodded. Yep, just like that. The little lesson continued and... let's see. You may not have been entirely sure of yourself before, but that is rapidly changing. You are definitely getting it. Occasionally, he reached out and touched you to more directly help get positions right. It felt nice. If you acknowledged you noticed his touch at all, he would instantly pull away. Since you spent so much time working on balance in stable water, you wondered when you'd actually get to catch some waves. You brought it up to Cove and he nodded. If you think you're ready, go for it. You'll do great. Alright. With that, you graduated from Cove's class and the two of you were able to surf together more casually, even if he was still better at it. What an afternoon. Oh, it must be so good. The setting sun was visible on the horizon. Every time you would look away, it had sunk a little lower. The beach was darkening but still pleasantly warm. You knew you should get out of the water before it was completely dark in the sea. You rode one last wave to get back to the beach. There you picked up your surfboard and gave it a quick once-over. Cove followed behind you to the shore. He put his board with his other things and grabbed his towel to start drying off. As he ruffled his hair with the towel, you watched the sunset together. The colors were beautiful in the distance and the shadows around you deepened. There was no need for words between you two as you both enjoyed the sight for a moment. Cove broke the silence. The waves were good today, I think. Yeah, totally. He nodded mildly. You chatted a little more until the conversation truly died out, and all you heard was the rhythmic sound of waves. Then Cove sighed. The day can't be over, not yet. Aww. He spelled into the distance, as if the sun exiting the sky was a personal offense. Offense, I mean. Don't you think it should be longer? Yeah. Cove stood up straight. I'm not gonna go home yet. I wanna go somewhere, I don't know. Where do you wanna go, Cove? Cove was still dripping in salt water, so you weren't sure what the alternative was. Wetsuits were fine for the beach and not much else. It wasn't a good idea for him to lug a surfboard around town either. You'll be real cute in that wetsuit wherever you go. Well, I need to call it a night. Yeah, I want you to do something too. Cove nodded with a smile. Then he looked down the shore with wide, shining eyes. There's at least one place that's always okay to hang out in, no matter what time it is, the park. You noted the park was virtually always empty. Even Elizabeth only went over there nowadays. If she was looking for you. How times have changed. She used to be so protective of the place. In fact, the only person there was a chance of running into might be that Jeremy kid again. You brought the idea up to Cove and he... I'm still going. The sun is still there a little. I'm staying out as long as it is. Sure, I'll tag along. May will tag along. Okay, let's go. Cove took a minute to put his stuff in order. He made sure to get it all, though didn't take much care to shake the sand off. You dealt with your own things. Quickly. I'm done, Cove. He led the way down the beach to the park. It wasn't far, so it didn't take you long at all. The sun still hadn't completely disappeared just yet when you made your arrival. Cove stuck his surfboard upright in the sand and tossed his towel over top. By now, the two of you were mostly dry. The summer breeze on your skin kept you pleasantly warm. Cove ideally went over to the monkey bars. He grabbed them, fell flat on the ground, and pretended to go across. He had definitely grown in the past few years. You could barely use the monkey bars yourself. There wasn't much space at all between you and the ground. When you got to the bar in the middle, Cove pulled himself up and through, then sat on top of the bars. His leg dangled off the side of the bar he perched on. Let me join in. Without Cove's height advantage, getting up there was more difficult, but you made it. You climbed on the side of the monkey bars and pulled yourself up to the top. You settled yourself in between two of the slats. The skinny metal wasn't the most comfortable thing to sit on, though you enjoyed the height it gave you. Guess what? He smiled broadly and raised an eyebrow. He's not here. Right, it was true. There wasn't a single sign of Jeremy. Looks like it was just going to be the two of you tonight. Cove hung his head and groaned dramatically. Your eyes widened when he whipped his head back up.
No way!
I can't believe how dumb my parents are for forcing me to come to this stupid place. You were taken aback and blinked for a second before you realized they was quoting Jeremy. Cove chuckled back at you, amused. You looked around the old park, the streets you knew like the back of your hand, and the beach. These were your stomping grounds. You wondered how Cove actually felt. How much was his joke just a joke, and how much was sincere dislike of this place? Moving had never been his choice. Do you actually like this neighborhood? Do you really have to ask that, May? He kicked his legs carelessly as they dangled. He smiled softly. I like it here, I really do. It's a nice place. That's a big change. He didn't hesitate. There was no uncertainty. That was a genuine opinion. Let's say this. You're the best thing in the neighborhood, Cove. Cove flushed and started kicking his leg widely, like it was running in place. Cute. It didn't take long for the day to finally draw to a close. The sun was gone and it was dark. You chatted a while longer, but it was definitely winding down. I wish days were longer. I wish this day was longer. His feet kicked out and made him look like a pouty child. Oh well. Okay, it was time to go home. You clambered down the monkey bars yourself. You lowered yourself more slowly than Cove and barely made a sound when your feet reached the ground. Cove grabbed his surfboard and threw his towel around his neck. With his water bottle in hand, he was ready. Alright, you both began your trek up the road. It was a quiet night and you didn't run into anyone else. In what felt like no time at all, you had reached your street. As you walked, Cove smiled to himself. It was a soft expression and you couldn't help but wonder what put it there. Everything okay? I just remember when we were younger, it used to be such a big deal to come home after dark. You could indeed recall. If you got sandy, your parents would have something to say. If you got wet, your parents would have more to say. And if you come home after dark, well, your mom and his dad better have said it was okay beforehand. You used to need permission for everything. That small comment he made exposed just how much freedom you really had this summer. Cove looked up into the sky, a smile on his face as the two of you walked side by side
reminiscing. When you came to our houses, you turned to each other. Bye. Bye. Cove waved and you both turned around to your respective houses. May and Cove. This was a pleasant end to the outing, you thought. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, should I go with one more? I'm not sure if I will come back today maybe I might come back after a few hours or tomorrow. Not pretty sure. It was really fun. Let me save this. I would say it was very relaxing and I was